I still get the goosebumps when I think of it.
You see that stuff on the movies, but they don't happen in Andover, Massachusetts.
Nobody knows why it happened.
A husband and wife murdered inside their mansion.
69-year-old John Jack Magee and his 67-year-old wife Geraldine died in the million-dollar home they once built themselves. Their daughter reportedly discovered their bodies on the first floor just after 9 a.m. Police say the couple had been shot to death.
A town left shaken and confused.
This was like shock.
It was just chilling.
Not every day, your neighbors are murdered in their home.
10 years later, the case remains open and unsolved, leaving its quiet community with only questions and no answers.
I can remember reading about it and actually seeing it, on the news, and then all of a sudden it seemed like the whole story just disappeared.
John and Geraldine Magee raised their two children, Holly and John Jr., in Andover, Massachusetts. John owned and operated Magee Construction with his son. The couple also had two grandchildren.
They were our neighbors. John Magee owned the company that developed the houses on our block.
Jack Magee was a client of our section of town government and would come into our office sometimes a couple of times a week. He would apply for permits, get permits, but he was a very gregarious fellow. He had a good sense of humor and always had a laugh with him.
The Magees built my family's house, and we knew them for many years. And they were just well-liked people in Andover, successful developer, and then one day they were dead.
It was a cold winter morning on December 14th, 2011. Police arrived to the home on Orchard Crossing around 9:15 that Wednesday morning. Neighbors say they remember it like it was yesterday. They've asked us not to identify them.
Oh, I remember it vividly.
All I remember is just the helicopters going overhead and nobody knew what was going on.
Ambulance and police cars and sirens going by, but at that very moment you don't know what it is.
I saw a Andover police vehicle speeding down the block, followed by another one, which is at a very high rate of speed. We observed the police officers get out of their vehicles, put on their Kevlar vests, and unholster their guns. And then they went inside. I remember thinking something terrible had happened in that house.
Upon officers arriving at the scene, they found two victims on the first floor of the residence. Those victims had been shot, and we're classifying this as a double homicide.
Everyone from the news media was sort of standing at the end of the street where they lived, and I remember standing there for a number of hours. The most disturbing part of it was the fact that it was the holidays, and here we were covering a murder.
According to the Essex County District Attorney's Office, the couple's daughter, Holly, arrived to her parents' house that morning with her young children, and that's when she saw it.
For the daughter to walk in with those kids when she went to drop them off and to find the parents on that floor, those kids will never forget that.
So they were discovered on a Wednesday. That Tuesday evening, their dog was heard barking, and my dogs were out in the backyard barking back. Their dog never barked.
The DA's office said the night before, Boston police found the couple's black Lexus SUV torched in the North End.
The incident appears to be an isolated act, and the circumstances lead us to believe that there is no further threat to the Andover community.
It is a shocking crime in a neighborhood where the Magee's Christmas lights still glow. Andover police have no suspects in custody. They have no persons of interest. And yet tonight they are telling residents in this area they should not be worried about their own safety.
The chief would not explain why he felt there was no longer a threat to the community here in Andover. Homicides are rare in town, the last one taking place 9 years ago.
In the days to months following the shooting, few details were released. Then in a press conference 4 years later, the Essex County District Attorney revealed information about December 13th, the day before their bodies were found. According to the DA, John Magee visited a construction site in Reading, then returned home that afternoon. His wife made plans to watch their grandchildren the next day so their daughter, Holly, could go Christmas shopping. The next morning, their bodies were found.
The information we have that's known to us and the perpetrators will not be made public until we've effectuated an arrest.
Andover Police and the Essex County DA's office declined to speak to us for this story. But 10 years later, people in town still wonder how and why someone would do this.
There was something that wasn't adding up, and to this day, 10 years later, still doesn't add up.
Everybody had a different story. Everybody knew somebody that knew somebody.
It's like it's just slipped under the radar.
The scene disappeared, and it seemed like the story disappeared with it. On December 9th, 2021, 5 days before the 10th anniversary, John and Jerry's children released a statement to the public. Quote, "Our family has lost 10 years of love, smiles, wisdom, support, and happiness with them. For the past decade, we have hoped and prayed for answers and closure to this horrible crime. Jack and Jerry will live forever in our hearts and memories, but the people who committed this act are still at large, and they need to be brought to justice." End quote. With no public suspects, arrests, or information, the mystery still stands.
Who could get into a house so easily and get out of a house so easily without leaving any trace?
The holidays, Christmas, and here's a family after 10 years, still no answers for them.
I think whoever did this was very good and knew what they were doing, and they're probably watching this right now saying, boy, I got away with this one.
Anyone with information is asked to call the Andover Police Anonymous Tip Line, 978-623-3560.